Hey, this is Daniel, and this is the third pymax tutorial. I'm going to be continuing with the metronome example from the second pymax tutorial, and we're going to add to it so we can actually change other aspects of the click, the metronome click. So we saw in the last one how you can change the tempo. Now to change other elements, the problem with generators in Python is that you can't change the values of the generator in real time. We'd like a way to do that. So with pymax, here's how you do it. We're going to define a class, and this class is going to control the elements of the click. So we're going to call it class click, and it's just going to have a few, really it's just going to be a class that holds data, and the data it's going to hold is the pitch, which we're going to give it an initial value of 60, and the velocity, which will give an initial value of 100, and then the let's say the duration as well, too, which will give an initial value. Since we're in beats, we'll give it an initial value of 0.5. So now you can see here we've got the same elements: pitch, velocity, and duration. Pitch, velocity, and duration. We've also got channel here. We're not going to mess with that in this example. So in order to actually control these elements, we can do a couple things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an instance of this class to pymax. So pymax, we're going to do that by adding a class, by calling add class. With add class, the way we do it is the same way we do things with add generator. We're going to give it a name. In this case, we'll call it click with a lowercase c. And since we're making an instance of the class object, we give it, not the class object, the click object. We're going to give it the class name click. There are no arguments to the constructor of a click class, so that's all we have to add. If there were arguments to the constructor of the click class, to the constructor of the class we're adding, then you'd put a comma and then you'd add those arguments in. But in this case, there are none. So when we add that, this is going to be a bit incomplete, but let me just show you how, first, what I can do with that. Now that I've added that, then I can take my py object, and I'm going to call click with a lowercase c. Now, when I send messages to pyObject click, it's going to actually send messages to the instance of this class that I added to pymax. What are the types of messages I can send? Well, in this case, there's not that many because click only holds data. It doesn't have any member methods. So, but I can set some of the data in it. So I can say, let me, I can get the value of the pitch by calling that, and it'll send it through the outlet here. I can also get the velocity or the duration by using the message get and then the name of the variable. It will actually send the value of that variable through the outlet of pyObject. I can also set it, pitch, and to set it, I'm going to set it using a slider. So I'll attach a new slider to set pitch. So it'll send the value of that slider through the set pitch message into pyObject, and it's going to change the value of the pitch data variable inside of my click class instance. A lot of words there. Let's see it in action. So we're going to run it. Pymax loop entered. So just to see how it works, get pitch, it's 60. If I set the pitch to something in here and then get it again, it's 98, 39, 116. Okay, that's very cool. I could do the same thing with velocity. Set velocity. Send it a slider object. Send that message into PyObject, and we'll also send it a get velocity message so I can see the value of it. All right, so get the velocity, it's 100, which is indeed what the default value is, but if I set it to something else, 27, oops, 12, that's funny, it doesn't seem to set it to 0 value. Better look at that. So what can I do with that? How does that help the generator that I've written? Well, now there's only one thing I have to do, and it's kind of cool. I'm going to set the metronome generator. Well, first I'm going to stop running it so I can make changes. I'm going to set the metronome to take a variable, to take an argument. And I don't need to say that it's a click, but that's just a good reminder. It's going to take in click, and that's an instance of the click class. So now instead of setting the pitch and the velocity and the duration to begin with, I'm going to leave the channel alone because the channel is just often pretty much 1. Now I'm going to give it the value of the click variable pitch, the value of the click variable velocity, and the value of the click variable duration. So now it's going to spit those out, but when I change them, it's going to change them in the generator. So now I have real-time control of my metronome. So I shouldn't have to do anything else. Let's just see how it runs. I'm going to set my tempo. And because I haven't sent any messages into the PyObject since I actually started the Python module running, it's going to start at the default values of a pitch of 60 and a velocity of 100. Oh, nope, I'm sorry. I had you see down here, missing 1 required positional argument click. I'm glad that happened. So my generator function now takes a constructor argument. So I need to actually tell it what that constructor argument is, or it's not going to run. It's going to give me an error. Well, since I added a class instance and I called it click, what we have to do is when we give it the constructor argument, or the initialization argument, I should be saying, in pymax, we give it the actual string that's the name that we're sending to pymax, not an actual name of an instance variable, because we don't have an instance variable in this case. So this should run. Let's see how it works. Pymax loop entered, press Control C to exit loop. Let's see what happens. So I've got my default values, but if I change the pitch, I change the velocity, so that's cool. Real-time control of a Python module spitting out notes. Of course, I can change the tempo too. You'll notice there is a lag. There is a little bit of a lag. That's the way the pymax system is set up with this particular type of sending events with just a simple generator. If you want to get rid of that lag, you can, but you have to do some sort of clever hacking, which you're welcome to do. But for now, that's the third tutorial, and these are the basics of how pymax works.